top linebacker free agents. And again, we're going to run through these guys just like we have every other section here when it comes to positional importance, positional needs, and positional value in terms of unrestricted free agents, according to Spot Track. Okay, so shout out to Spot Track. All the information that we're using came from their website, an awesome website. I would highly recommend anybody go over there and sign up. It's an awesome, awesome site. So how these free agents can help improve the Packers linebacker room. Notice I didn't say how we have to have this free agent, right? This is a top priority sign. Nobody's saying that. It's how can you improve that linebacker room if Quay Walker is not here next year, right? That's the big thing. So let's take a look at the top free agents. We're going to break it down first into previous average annual value. All right. Now, what does that mean? It means you take their entire contract, their previous contract, and you divide the total number on that contract by the years. That gives you what we call the AAV, average annual value. It doesn't mean the team was on the hook for the cap for that. It doesn't mean the team had to actually pay that out. It doesn't mean that that's the signing bonus. It's going to be a smaller portion of that AAV that's going to be the signing bonus, and that determines how much you're actually on the hook for when it comes to the salary cap. So again, we sorted by this. Here are the top available free agents based off their previous average annual value. You'll notice the market value off to the right. Okay, so really what you're looking at is previous contract, and then the market value will kind of show you whether their value, their stock has dipped or not since they signed that previous contract. At the top of the list, no surprise, Mr. 35-year-old Bobby Wagner at $9 million previous average annual value. Now, we talked about Bobby Wagner 2 years ago. Before he signed with Washington the first time, we were like, that's a guy you need to go get to put alongside Quay Walker. We knew the linebacker play wasn't good enough, right? Of course, you go out, you end up drafting Edgerrin Cooper right around that time. Absolute stud of a pick. You love Edgerrin Cooper. Could you imagine if you had signed Bobby Wagner and he had stayed with the Packers this entire time? Would we be seeing us getting cooked on those crosser routes? Would we be complaining about the hesitation from Quay Walker biting underneath and really attacking underneath, kind of that processing speed, if you will? We know Quay's a freak, and I would love to have Quay Walker back at the right price. However, when you truly look at what these other stack backers bring to the table, like Bobby Wagner, another one, Demario Davis is very interesting, right? Matt Milano, we talked about him, all-pro. Bobby Babich actually coached him. So would that be somebody we'd be interested in? I'm personally not interested in. I hope they wouldn't overpay for him, but that might be a veteran they could bring in, right? But going down the list, Bobby Wagner, $9 million. Levante David, who played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at $9 million. Spoiler alert, I'm not a big David fan personally. I know he's an athletic freak too, if I remember correctly, but not a big fan of him. Demario Davis out of New Orleans. Kenneth Murray from Dallas. Then you've got Caden Ellis from Atlanta, Matt Milano from Buffalo, Alex Anzalone from Detroit, Von Miller. Now, keep in mind, some of these may be edge rushers that are mixed and matched in, so you guys call them out. Like Alex Anzalone is kind of a hybrid player, right? So maybe you don't view him truly as a stack backer. He's more of he can play a little stack backer. He can also rush the quarterback. I kind of feel like we got that in Quay right now. And I'm okay with having stack backers that can rush the quarterback, but I need somebody who's just not going to kind of sit back there and cover grass, right? They've got to be able to latch on to the concepts. And what I mean by concepts, I mean the passing concepts, the route combination. They need to be able to understand that when you're in a 2x2 set against this team this week, the film study suggested they may run a drive concept, okay? So you need to know how to read the 1 to the 2 and what depth to play at. Maybe you get shallow enough to take the 1 away and then be willing and ready to fade back and take the 2. These are the things that really stresses defense, especially when you're sitting in a zone defense, right? That you want to flood those zones with these specific concepts. So I want somebody who's quick twitch that can make those decisions, right? And really the one that comes to mind for me is he's a little bit lower on the list is Devin Bush. He's actually below Quay Walker in previous average annual value, but you'll notice, or not Devin Bush, I'm sorry, Devin Lloyd, but you'll notice here in a second, his value is through the roof. We may be outpriced on Devin Lloyd, okay? But again, you're willing to overpay for great. You're not willing to overpay for good. I feel like Quay Walker has been an above average linebacker, maybe even average. Now, PFF thinks he's been horrible. I'm not quite there, okay? But I don't think he warrants getting paid a huge contract. And you'll kind of see Spot Track values him where I've kind of said I've valued him. And they've got Quay Walker valued at $8.2 million. His previous was $3.4. So he made himself some money. We've talked about that. Now, Will a team look at his measurables? Will they look at his freak athletic ability and say, you know what, guys, let's overpay for him. I want that player. I want him, go get him. And would they be willing to pay 12 or 15 million per? It's possible. But if you're telling me we could get Quay Walker back for 8 million, and that's, it was reported during the season, the Packers offered Quay Walker a contract. I don't want to say he declined it, but they continued to negotiate and they just never got there, right? What that tells me is Quay Walker wants to test the market. Quay Walker thinks he's more valuable than what the Packers offered. What did the Packers offer him? Did they offer him 8 million? If so, market value suggests that's pretty fair. Now, if they offered him 5 million or 4 million, maybe he's insulted and he won't even sign with Green Bay. That could be the case, right? We won't know until free agency opens up. But again, that's just a handful of players. I want you to really key in on Devin Lloyd down there from Jacksonville, 27 years old. Devin Bush, too, I'm interested to see where he falls here as well. We're going to line it up with PFF grades, too. So let's go down to market value, okay? Average annual value in terms of market value. So you'll notice Devin Lloyd at the top of the list, 20.1 million average annual value. Now, what does that mean, guys? If you were to sign him to a 4-year, $80 million deal, how much of it would it be guaranteed? Okay. So you may have a situation where it's, let's say, and I don't even know what the guaranteed money should be. We could troubleshoot that, or we could do a quick little deep dive if we wanted to. I don't want to tie up time here to do that. But the guaranteed money, let's say it's 20 million guaranteed of the 80 million. Well, essentially, it could become a 1-year, $20 million deal is how you can look at that. Now, you're going to spread that cap hit out. That way, the dead cap accelerates to the final year he's here. What I mean is, if you give him 4 years, 80 million, on the surface, it looks like a Aaron Banks type contract, right? But as we reported, as soon as the Aaron Banks contract details came out, everybody said they overpaid, right? And maybe they did. But the thing we pointed out was, guys, this is really a 1-year deal. The Packers can move on after 1 year. They're not tied up for a long period of time. Again, cash over cap, right? Like they agreed to more guaranteed money, and with that more guaranteed money, the way it's structured, they can get out of it after that first year. Again, we could cut Aaron Banks at guard and free up $4 million, right? Now, it's not ideal because if you go post-June 1 cut, you can free up $18 million with him, right? If I remember correctly. $18 million you can free up post-June 1 cut. So Devin Lloyd, if you went 4 years, 80 million, 20 million guaranteed, you may need to do more than that. I would be okay with doing 30 million guaranteed, right? And then essentially it would be a 2-year deal, right? Because it's going to be, you can get out of the contract after 2 years the way you can structure that. And you're saying, why would Devin Lloyd do that? Because he wants another bite at the apple, just like Aaron Banks. You think Aaron Banks isn't happy about getting, 27 million fully guaranteed? And then if we decide to move on, guess what? He's a free agent again, and he just pocketed that guaranteed money. That's cash over cap, right? So Demario Davis is another interesting one. His previous 8.6, he's kind of held steady. 9.4 is now his market value. Quincy Williams is Quentin Williams' brother. Wouldn't be surprised if Dallas makes a run at him. He's almost 30 years old, but his previous was $6 million. His market value suggests his stock has risen to 9.1. I don't think that would be a bad signing. People are going, he's almost 30, Clayton. I don't care. We need 2 or 3 30-year-olds on this team if we want to continue, if we don't want to continue making mistakes in these crucial situations, these crucial games, right? And I'm sick of hearing, and this ain't no shot at anybody in here. I just listen to a lot of sports talk, and it's like, well, you go younger so you can stay healthy. How did that work out this year? We had the youngest roster in the league, and we were arguably the most decimated by injuries. That is proven to be false. In my opinion, it's kind of the opposite. When you've got guys who have learned to play at the NFL level for the last 5, 7, 8 years, and they know how to avoid injury, they know how to stay in the lineup, they know how to protect their body, is that just going to get thrown to the wayside because they're 28 years old, they're 29 years old? So I wouldn't be crazy opposed to someone like that if the grades matched up, if the tape matched up. So Devin Bush, actually Quincy Williams, like we said, 9.1 million. He's made himself a little bit of money. Looks like Caden Ellis from Atlanta, previously 7.1, now 8.9. Devin Bush from Cleveland, previously 3.2, up to 8.8. And then Quay Walker, of course, we talked about, previously 3.4. He's made himself some money up to 8.2. So when you're looking at a Devin Bush, if you're willing to sign a Devin Bush, you probably want to keep Quay Walker if you can get him at the right price. But if these market values or hold to be true, that they're lower than what the market value actually is, we're going to find that out when the rubber meets the road, right? Then Quay may jump up to Demario Davis's level, or even close to Devin Lloyd's level. Maybe Devin Lloyd won't get 20.1. Maybe he'll drop down to about 15. So again, it's not a top priority, but I think we should keep an eye on the stack backer position for sure. Now let's talk about PFF grades. All right. I took all these players from the top 5 teams on both these lists. Okay. So Jacksonville, New Orleans, New York Jets, Atlanta Falcons, Cleveland, Green Bay. I think I don't know if I included Philly in there or not, but here are the grades. Here is how these players shake out. If you said PFF was everything, and we're not saying that, it's just another metric we can use. Devin Lloyd was the 3rd highest graded linebacker this year at 88.4. Devin Bush from Cleveland, 87.6. So when you look at that 87.6 for Devin Bush, and then you bounce back and look at, all right, he's 27 years old, only $8.8 million. That seems like a screaming deal. 40-year deal, get out of it after 2 if you need to. To me, that I would be okay with that signing. Demario Davis, 80.3. Again, Demario Davis, where did he land on this list? He's 2nd at 9.4. So that would be money well spent, in my opinion. Again, Devin Lloyd breaking the bank there, man. 88.4 elite grade. Devin Bush seems a little more appealing to me than Devin Lloyd when you're just strictly looking at the PFF grades compared to the AAV and the projected market value. But that's looking good. Here's Bobby Wagner. Guys, understand, there's going to be people in the comments going, I can't believe you want to sign Bobby Wagner. He's so old. Why would you sign somebody that old? They were saying that 3 years ago, and the dude continues to grade out as a top 10 linebacker. Now, as I said back then, this could be the year he hits the wall. But boy, oh boy, we just keep kind of shuffling our feet and going, we need to stay young. We need to stay young. We need to stay young. It bothers me to think of where this team may have been. Could we have went deeper in the playoffs if you had a veteran who's got a Super Bowl ring in Bobby Wagner, somebody who's been a team captain pretty much everywhere he's gone, somebody who had a lot of experience in the cover 3 buzz, which, he's kind of followed Dan Quinn around, right? Dan Quinn, when he left Dallas, he went to Washington. Obviously, Dan Quinn got brung up through the Legion of Boom days in Seattle. And obviously that's where Bobby Wagner made his hay. That's where he played his best football. So Bobby Wagner, I would be okay with for the right price. What's Wagner's number here? $7.6 million. All right. $7.6 million. So give me a 1-year deal for $8 million, $6 million guaranteed. I'd be okay with adding Bobby Wagner to the roster. Again, these are some of those deals that you can kind of get away with, right? Now, Levante David is showing that his stock has gone down. And PFF agrees, 52.6. And keep in mind, Spot Track isn't including PFF grades. They're doing other comps, age, performance, tackles for loss, things like that, right? Statistically. Also staying healthy, being available, that type of thing. So when you look at this list, Edgerrin Cooper was the 17th highest graded linebacker. Guys, that was a down year for him. He graded out in the 80s his rookie year. Could you imagine adding a Devin Bush, Demario Davis, Bobby Wagner, hell, even a Diablo there? I don't know if he's probably not available. Never mind. Yeah, I don't think he's available. He just happened to fall into the Atlanta list. So someone in those top 3 or 4, could you imagine lining them up alongside Edgerrin Cooper? And if you're going Clay, I want Quay Walker back. Why are you so down on Quay? It's not just the PFF grade. Again, I think he played better than the PFF grade. But when I watch the tape, and I look at how Quay played, I am underwhelmed. I'm like, I can't pay that guy $10 million. I just can't do it. He's a physical freak, but I can't do that. There's too many mental lapses. There's too many, being hesitant underneath. Edgerrin Cooper, there's no hesitation at all. So that's the hard part is you see Edgerrin Cooper play alongside Quay Walker, and I'm going, Edge is shooting his shot, and he's not making mental mistakes. Quay's been in the league for 4 years. Like, again, I can't pay him $10 million. Justifying he was the 76th highest graded linebacker here, according to them, right? So I would rather start Isaiah McDuffie alongside Edgerrin Cooper than I would actually have Quay Walker back at that price. Because, again, Isaiah McDuffie is going to be much, much cheaper. So that's the way I see the stack backer position. That's how it shakes out for me. I would like to see them potentially go out there and get a guy for $8 or $9 million per. It'd be about $6 million against the cap this year. You wipe your hands clean of Quay Walker, especially if he ends up landing a lot of money, and you can fix that stack backer room very, very quickly. So that's the linebacker free agents. We're going to shift gears now into top linebacker draft prospects. But before we do, if you're watching this video back later, let me know in the comments. How do you feel about everything we covered? How do you feel about that free agent list? How do you feel about the PFF grades attached? Do you think Bobby Wagner is too old to sign? How do you think that maybe Devin Lloyd is not worth $20 million per? I don't know if we can afford him anyway, to be honest with you. Which of these guys would you like to sign? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified every time we go live here on PTA.